All right, welcome to today's webinar. Today's webinar is the second part of a two-part series on law firm SEO. And in the first part of this two-part series, we took a comprehensive overview of law firm SEO, and that was to help you learn not only the basics about how your potential clients are using the internet, but also what to look out for in SEO providers that'll help you stay immune to empty sales talk or other things that have a negative effect on your law firm's web presence. And in today's session, we are going to address the questions that were asked the most frequently about law firm SEO and law firm website success. For those of you who aren't familiar with me, my name is Victoria Blute, and I'm the community manager at LawLytics. My job is to keep attorneys on the cutting edge of web technologies and online legal marketing, and to help you learn what works on the web. I come from a journalism background, and if you happen to read our blog on a regular basis or regularly attend our webinars, you might already be familiar with me. But before we get started with today's session, I just want to briefly review who we are here at LawLytics and what we do and why it matters. You have many choices of companies and technologies to design, build, host, and help you market your law firm's website. And at LawLytics, we do all of that. And we also have a lot of competition. So what is LawLytics? How are we different? Our company is obsessed with the pursuit of the most efficient method of marketing for each law firm. And there are really two major variables of efficiency. There's time and there's money. And LawLytics was created to empower law firms to have unlimited marketing success without wasting time or money. And we have two different types of competitors. On one side are full-service marketing companies like FindLaw and Martindale Nolo. And LawLytics is built to give attorneys all of the upsides of using a full-service company, but without exposing you to the potential risks and downsides. And on the other side are do-it-yourself website software programs, programs like WordPress or Wix that are cheap or free to use. And these programs come with steep opportunity costs, and that has attorneys struggling to make them work, and they're wasting their time and missing opportunities along the way. So while both full-service companies and do-it-yourself platforms are viable options, LawLytics offers a more practical solution for attorneys. Our company works exclusively with lawyers. Our services are adaptable to every stage of a law firm's growth. So that means our members can start as small as they choose and then grow as big as they decide without taking dangerous risks or committing to things that might not work. And because our software is built exclusively for you, the attorney, the learning curve is really easy, and that enables our members to add to and edit their websites and turn their efforts into new business without struggling. There are some other relevant LawLytics webinars that relate to what we are going to discuss today, so I want to address those first for those who are interested before we get started. A few weeks ago, we did a webinar on pay-per-click or PPC for lawyers, and in that hour-long webinar, we looked at the strategy and the resources that go into successful PPC marketing. So we showed attorneys how it works, and how to determine whether you actually need a middleman to broker those ads for you. And that webinar was designed to help you determine whether PPC is right for your firm and how to make sure that you're doing it correctly if you decide to go down that road. We also talked about how to use the LawLytics landing page creation features, and those are designed to maximize your clicks to clients conversion, and while also minimizing your cost per click. So if you're interested in checking out that webinar, you can find it on our webinars page over at www.lawlytics.com. We also recently presented a webinar on reputation management to teach you how easy it is to manage and grow your online reviews and protect your reputation. Reputation management is one of those things that you want to start working on as soon as you can with your online web presence, because reviews really do matter. Your potential clients will look to reviews when they are making a decision about hiring you. But conveniently, if you are using the right technology, managing, collecting, and displaying positive reviews is actually pretty easy to do, and it doesn't require a lot of extra effort on your part. And again, if you want to see that webinar, it's available on our webinars page. And today we are going to talk a little bit more about law firm SEO. So in the first part of this series, we showed you how to grow your firm by understanding how search engines work and how to do search engine optimization the right way, in the way that attracts qualified potential clients and referral sources without wasting your time or exposing you to dangerous risks that can harm your law firm's web presence. And now we're going to talk about the more common questions that we get about law firm SEO. So the first question is this: do I need a full-service SEO company? This is a loaded question, and it first requires that the term full service be defined clearly. Many companies will promote themselves as full service to give the impression of completeness and to also create a distinction between themselves and companies that offer a service that is somehow incomplete. But the problem is that full service oftentimes involves more illusions than inclusions, and that's why it's so important for attorneys to really understand what goes into successful online legal marketing so that they themselves can distinguish the difference between something that has actual value for their firm and something that is ultimately meaningless or empty sales talk. Do I need backlinks? So it should first be said that links from other websites to your law firm's website are a factor in Google's ranking algorithm. And having links to your law firm's website is a good thing when they're the right kind of links. But unfortunately, you can't buy your way into having the kind of links that you need. And in fact, if your law firm SEO provider is selling backlinks, they are directly violating Google's guidelines on that topic. And again, I recommend that you look up the topic to see what Google says about it, but here are really the big takeaways, and these are directly from Google. So, any links that are intended to manipulate a site's ranking in Google's search results may be considered part of a link scheme and a violation of Google's webmaster guidelines. This includes any behavior that manipulates links to your site or outgoing links from your site. And the following are examples of link schemes that can negatively impact a site's ranking in search results. So first, buying or selling links that pass PageRank. And this includes exchanging money for links or posts that contain links, exchanging goods or services for links, sending someone a quote-unquote free product in exchange for them writing about it and including a link, excessive link exchanges, i.e. link to me and I'll link to you, or partner pages that are exclusively for the sake of cross-linking. Large-scale article marketing or guest posting campaigns with keyword-rich anchor text links, using automated programs or services to create links to your site. And again, this is not a complete list, so it is really worth taking time to know what's what when it comes to links and Google. But the bottom line is that it's basically like telling a client of your law firm to hire you because you're going to bribe the judge. So be careful with backlinks. What's the value of link building? So one way to think about this is this. Picture this scenario. You walk up to a group of people on the corner. They have a gun. They seem to be exchanging money. You ask them what they're doing, and you learn the following. It's a game that you can play. The gun holds 5 rounds. One bullet is inserted, the other chambers are left empty. You'll sign a waiver and you'll pay $10 to play. Then the barrel will be spun, and without looking at it, it's going to be fired at your head at point blank range. You've got a 1 in 5 chance of being hurt or killed, and you have a 4 in 5 chance of winning. What winning means is that you get your $10 back. Would you play this game? Of course not. But attorney link building services are much like this. There's virtually no chance of you coming out ahead. There is a high probability that you might break even, and there's a statistically significant chance that you'll end up paying somebody to sabotage your website. If you pay somebody to get your links, then you are playing Russian roulette with your website. What is link disavowal, and does my law firm need it? So, as I mentioned earlier, backlinks can be really bad for your SEO. If you pay somebody to get them for you, or if a competitor gets them to sabotage you, there is an avenue to mitigate the damage. Google provides a detailed explanation of disavowing backlinks that you can find online. Now, this is an expert level function. We don't recommend that attorneys attempt to do this on their own unless they have read all of the instructions and understand which links they're disavowing and why. You must own your site and be able to verify ownership in order to disavow backlinks to your law firm's website. Now, if you are a LawLytics member, we can help you understand whether this process is right for you or not and help you with the verification and technical details. Placing links on your site. There is a common SEO trick that involves the solicitation via email, which says something like this. It'll say something like, I work with attorneys across the US and I want to benefit their website and yours. I'll place a link on your website to one of my clients, which will elevate their website, and then you'll place a link to a different client of mine on your website, which will elevate their website. This is free. This isn't black hat, and it's legitimate because the links aren't reciprocal and this doesn't violate Google's guidelines. If you see this, understand that it is very dangerous for you to participate in this because this is a link scheme. A webmaster that has his or her customers participate in such a scheme is really playing a dangerous game of deception, and they run the risk of getting all of their customers demoted or banned by the search engines. There are many other schemes that amount to you or to getting you to place a link from your website to another law firm's website. But unless you are doing so with the intent of sharing good information and linking directly to that good information on the other firm's site, do so at your own peril. There is no upside and there is a whole lot of potential pain if you participate in this. Location names. Should I add location names into my law firm's pages for SEO purposes? The answer to this is no. This sends a spam signal. So it used to be a common practice to include a paragraph on the pages of a law firm's website that has a list with commas of all the locations where an attorney practices. And the theory at that time was that stuffing the location names into the text would help search engines rank the pages for the searches that contain the included locations. But Google is much smarter than this now, and this is really a spam signal for the search engines at this time. So if you have this on your website, it should be removed as soon as possible, and a modern local law firm marketing strategy should be used instead. How much does page speed affect SEO? So page load speed performance has become a focus for many SEO salespeople. Much like mobile friendliness, Google has made page speed a ranking factor. But however, this doesn't mean that a faster loading page is always going to win. Page speed matters to Google, but it's just one of hundreds of factors to balance in the quest for great search engine performance. So a website has to have highly relevant content to rank well. A page that is, a blank page, no design, structure, content, that's going to be the fastest loading page that you can have, but it's not going to rank for anything. On the other hand, if you have 100,000 words of content and really heavy images on a page, and it takes that page 60 seconds to load, it's also unlikely to rank well. It's really about achieving a balance. And if you were with us for our 3-part practice area specific series in January, February, and March of this year, you'll recall that's something that we discussed in great detail. But as I said, it's a balancing act, and here at LawLytics, we make sure that all of our members' law firm websites load sufficiently fast to be able to rank well, but that's without sacrificing content or the usability of a site. Are meta keywords good for SEO? Some SEO providers talk about adding keywords to law firm websites and blogs. And it's important to distinguish what they're talking about because many of them persist in adding useless meta keywords. Google doesn't use the keywords meta tag in its ranking, and the company hasn't done that for a very long time. And in fact, there is a blog written by Google all the way back from about 2009. And I think the title of that was called Google Does Not Use the Keyword Meta Tag in Web Ranking. And I pulled an excerpt from it that explains why they don't use them anymore. And Matt Cutts, who I believe was the author of this piece, writes the following. He says, about a decade ago, search engines judged pages only on the content of web pages, not any so-called off-page factors, such as the links pointing to a web page. In those days, keyword meta tags quickly became an area where someone could stuff often irrelevant keywords without typical visitors ever seeing those keywords. Because the keyword's meta tag was so often abused, many years ago, Google began disregarding the keyword's meta tag. If you want to read more about it, I recommend Googling the title of that piece to see what else Matt Cutts has to say on that topic. What counts as high-quality content? So the Google Panda algorithm update was designed to boost the rankings of high-quality websites with high-quality content. Google wants to help people find the best quality content by elevating it in rankings while reducing the rankings of sites with poor quality content. So what exactly does Google mean when they're talking about high-quality content? If you want all the details, I recommend checking out the full Google Webmaster Guidelines, and you can find those online. But a lot of the main takeaway points are the ones that I've featured here. So creating pages for people and not for search engines, which means investing a lot of time into providing meaningful, useful content for your potential clients, and also demonstrating your firm's unique value online. One last point to make where content is concerned is this. Would you feel comfortable explaining the tactics that you're using to Google? Google's algorithms may have developed and changed over time, but one thing that they've consistently asked for is high quality content. So if you're copying someone else's content and putting it on your pages, or your content is very thin, or you're engaging in bad SEO tactics like some of the linking practices I discussed earlier, and that's whether you're doing that alongside content or in lieu of writing good content, ask yourself if you would be comfortable telling someone at Google what you're doing. If you're not, there is a good chance you shouldn't be doing it. Search engine submissions. What search engines should a law firm website be submitted to? The answer to that question is none. So when you're using modern technology, such as LawLytics, there is simply no need to submit your website to the search engines. The automatically created robots file will tell search engines where to find your automatically created and automatically updated sitemap file. And the sitemap file in turn tells the search engines every time a new page is added to your website, and also whenever any page is modified or updated. What is offsite SEO? So, offsite SEO can mean a lot of different things, and most significantly, this term is often used as a catch-all for things that supposedly add value to your web presence, but that can't be measured. And in the past 8 years or so, offsite SEO has really become a double-edged sword. Now, when it's paid for, it most often refers to getting backlinks from other sites as well as quote-unquote local citations. We strongly recommend that attorneys refrain from paying anybody to do offsite SEO for your law firm because of the very limited upside potential and the very significant downside risk. Long-tail SEO. So, what does long-tail SEO mean for lawyers? Most potential clients use Google and the other search engines to search for answers. And despite what most marketing companies will want you to believe, the vast majority of searches for lawyers are based on queries for specific information rather than just simple searches for lawyers. If your law firm is optimizing for what's called the head, so phrases like Colorado personal injury lawyer or Seattle DUI attorney, instead of the tail, and those are searches like who pays for medical expenses and a rental car after an accident in Colorado? Or will I lose my pilot's license after a marijuana DUI in Seattle? Then you're spending way too much to just get way too little. For a more detailed description of the long tail, I wrote a piece a couple months ago called Law Firm SEO, the simple truth that'll save you time and money, which refers to a lot of what we've talked about in Law Firm SEO in previous webinars and also in the first webinar in this series. If you're optimizing for the head of the keyword spectrum rather than the tail, then you're going to spend a lot of energy and money that results in a lot more clicks from your competitors and from marketers who are trying to sell you services, but you're going to net very few additional viable cases. And that's going to result in a greatly diminished marketing ROI. Conversely, what we've found is that attorneys who concentrate on the search phrases with a high likelihood of conversion because they are very specific ultimately see their websites start to rank very well for more general searches as a byproduct. What is a XML sitemap and how does it help with my law firm's SEO? So a XML sitemap is a machine-readable list of pages in your website that tells the search engines what to crawl. It tells them when each page was added or updated so that search engines know when to return to that page to re-index it. Now, you can create an XML sitemap yourself, but it can be a really sometimes confusing, time-consuming, multi-step process. And this is one of the many reasons that we recommend LawLytics. Our system automatically generates and updates the XML sitemap in real time for all of our members' websites. And that means you don't have to spend the time to learn how to do that. What is a meta description and why does it matter? So a meta description is a snippet of text in an HTML tag at the top of a web page or blog post that gives a summary of the content of the page. And you'll see search engines show the meta description in some search engine results pages when a user types in a query that matches the content of the results. Other times the search engines will substitute an excerpt from the page that the search engine deems to be maybe more relevant based on the search. The recommended length of a meta description is about 160 characters. Now, meta descriptions are not a ranking factor and they're not necessary to have on every page. And in fact, you can choose to leave the meta description area blank on any page you choose because Google will fill in a description that it thinks is most relevant to the person who finds your site. However, if you do choose to use the meta description area, it's important that each page has its own unique description. In other words, it is really better to do nothing at all than to recycle the same meta description from multiple pages. Duplicate content. Duplicate content refers to, and I'm quoting Google here, substantive blocks of content within or across domains that either completely match other content or are appreciably similar. Not all duplicate content is bad, and Google actually provides several suggestions and tools to assist with the avoidance of any downside of repeating content for natural reasons. However, some law firm marketing companies will create a single page of content and then find and replace keywords. So, for example, a page about local personal injury information with the city replaced and the page otherwise duplicated is not a good idea. Another thing to avoid is renting content from companies that also rent the same content to other lawyers. This was something that we discussed in the first part of this series, but this will create a situation where there's no SEO benefit. Some law firm marketing companies that do this actually add no index tags to content in order to block search engines from indexing them altogether. And the problem is that the net effect of this is that although there's no issue with duplicate content and therefore no exposure to a penalty, there's also absolutely no SEO benefit in renting the content in the first place. To be safe, we recommend writing all content on your law firm's website from scratch, and that's except for things that need to be quoted exactly, such as statutes and case law. What is the top of Google, and how can my law firm get there? So, despite the promises that web marketers will so freely use to entice lawyers and take their money, there is no top of Google. That one can get there is really just a misconception. It does not exist. And this was something that I talked about in a recent webinar series. And if you missed that, the point that I'd made there was this. For any Google search that you make, there is a #1 ranking position. We know that much, but there's no top of Google. So let's take a search for a basic keyword phrase, such as criminal defense attorney, Los Angeles. The results that you'll receive for that basic keyword search are going to be different based on the day that you search, on the location that you search from the browser that you're using, from the device that you're searching on, and so on and so forth. And just about the only thing that's going to be the same about each search that your potential clients do is that they're all going to be different. So to assume that potential clients search for basic keyword phrases like the one we just discussed, criminal defense attorney Los Angeles, that assumes that your potential clients already know that they need an attorney and search exactly for those terms. And as we know, that's not always the case. Potential clients often search by asking Google questions about their case or problem. And those questions may include basic keyword terms, but those basic terms are often, as we've learned, nestled into long-tail phrases. A majority of daily searches are completely unique, and for each unique search comes a unique set of search results. So, if somebody tells you that they can get you to the quote-unquote top of Google, or that they can get you to the top of Google in 3 weeks for some incredibly popular keyword, keep in mind there is no such thing as the top of Google. And on top of that, even the best SEO strategist on planet Earth has no control over what Google or Bing or any other search engine does. That there's some secret to ranking well is a myth. Yes, Google's ranking factors and how those factors are weighted are a secret. But what's absolutely not a secret, and it has never been a secret, is that Google wants you to write lots of quality content for your website so that they can provide it to the people who are making queries. Law firm SEO and pay-per-click. Does Google favor law firms that buy PPC marketing from them? No, and absolutely not. Paying Google for ads does not give any advantage to law firms in the unpaid listings, and anybody who's trying to sell you otherwise is lying. And if they are not, it would ruin Google's credibility. AdWords and anybody who sells them influencing Google's organic rankings is counter to Google's core ethos, which Google vigorously and publicly defends. And this is something that I discussed in just slightly more depth in the first part of this series. So if you missed that, I recommend that you go check it out. The bottom line there is that there is absolutely no correlation between purchasing pay-per-click advertising and a benefit in organic search rankings. SEO versus SEM. Is there a difference between these two things? And the answer to that is yes. So SEM stands for search engine marketing. SEO, as we know at this point, stands for search engine optimization. SEO is really a subcategory of SEM, and a company can be engaged in SEM without doing SEO. So as an example of that, pay-per-click marketing and other kinds of paid online marketing, that's a part of SEM, but it's not SEO. Is PageRank relevant in 2017? So in the past, SEOs really used to live and die by PageRank. That was a number that was assigned by Google to the pages of websites. And the reported PageRank was used as a tool by marketers to sell backlinks to influence Google's results. And as you might expect, Google took that away. They took away the carrot and the stick, and PageRank is no longer updated. It's not a major ranking factor. And at this point, it's really hotly debated whether it's a ranking factor at all. And yet, the spirit of PageRank lives on. Google is still interested in how reputable a page is. There is a trust factor that websites gain over time by following Google's recommended practices. But the reason we bring this up, this question up, is really this. The bottom line is that if somebody is trying to sell you links, run for the hills. If they tell you that the links have a page rank or a PR of X number, run. Blogging for lawyers. How often should lawyers blog for the best SEO results? Blogging is one of the most effective and efficient marketing activities that you can do for your law firm, but how much and how often should you blog? And the answer to that depends on a number of factors, including your practice area or areas, your geographic area, the demographics of your potential clients and referral sources, the activity level of your competition, the pace of news and evolution in or about your practice area or areas. As a general rule, the more you blog, the better. But a lawyer who practices personal injury in Los Angeles is going to need to blog more often than a lawyer who does estate planning in Tucson. And as a general rule, we recommend blogging at least once a week. If you want to build a truly dominant web presence, it might be helpful to blog or have somebody blog for you every single day. Now, if you want to learn more about blogging and substantive pages, the differences between them, how you can plan those out, we recommend checking out our Start, Grow, Dominate webinar series for your practice area, and you can find that over at the LawLytics website. Black hat versus white hat SEO. So the term black hat SEO typically refers to the dangerous practices that are used to try to trick Google to obtain better ranking. Google is much smarter than every black hat SEO, and the company has a vested interest in making sure that black hat SEOs don't succeed in ranking sites that don't merit it based on the value of the content of the site. And that means that SEOs who employ black hat tactics and their clients ultimately get punished. The promise of any potential short-term gain is never worth engaging in black hat tactics. Conversely, the term white hat SEO is typically used to describe SEO practitioners who follow Google's guidelines and don't use tricks or deception of any kind. And in 2017 and beyond, doing white hat SEO mostly comes down to how content is created on a law firm's website. Does being SEO certified carry any weight, or do SEO awards carry any weight? The answer to both of these things are no. Anybody can make up a certification for sales and marketing purposes, and just like web design awards, SEO awards can be made up or pay to play, so neither of these things carry any weight. Competitor sabotage. Can a competitor sabotage my SEO? It's pretty difficult, but not impossible for a competitor of your law firm to sabotage your law firm's SEO efforts. Now, when it does happen, it's typically done by an outsourced SEO company and involves, ironically, employing the same strategies, link building, directory submissions, and so on, that many SEO providers sell as being beneficial in the first place. For the most part, it is easier and cost-effective for a law firm to build up their own ranking rather than to try to degrade a competitor's ranking, and it's much less risky. We are frequently asked by law firms that call us and try to figure out why their marketing isn't working with other companies, if we think a competitor could be sabotaging them. While that is always possible, it's only worth investigation if the firm is doing everything else correctly and at a high level. Typically, your own SEO person is probably to blame for your loss of ranking, not your competitor. Can SEO create legal ethics issues? We have witnessed several non-lawyer SEO providers create potential ethics problems for attorneys while doing on-page search engine optimization. The most common scenario is when the non-attorney webmaster alters text that has legal meaning, and they might substitute different words or keywords that they view as synonyms, but unfortunately, those words carry different legal significance. Another common scenario is trying to optimize using comparative language, such as the best lawyer, or describing an attorney as a specialist or an expert, which is in contravention to the applicable state ethics rules. The bottom line is that you, the attorney, are responsible for every word on your law firm's website, and letting a SEO provider alter your words does not absolve you from that responsibility. The benefit of having a non-lawyer do on-page SEO for your law firm is typically either negligible or negative. So ask yourself, why would you risk your bar card or your reputation by empowering somebody who doesn't understand legal ethics and really doesn't have anything to lose? Your domain. So a couple questions here. How does domain history affect SEO? Are keywords in a domain name helpful, and will a penalty follow me to a new domain? To address the first question about domain history, a domain's history, be it positive or negative, can impact SEO. So a domain that's been around for a long time and has always followed best practices and has plenty of useful content will tend to be favored over domains that are new and contain equivalent content. However, an old domain can really be a curse as much as a blessing. If you have previously hired a webmaster to game the search engines or purchase links or so on, that negative history can carry over, and it can make it more difficult for your site to regain the trust of the search engines. If you're buying a previously owned domain name, it is really important to understand the history of the site. If the site previously used bad practices or had been a spam site or some sort of scam site, the previous owner's actions can negatively impact the future success of that domain. There is a misconception that just because a domain is quote-unquote aged, that it's somehow better. But an old domain that's been abused or that's been neglected is no better and is sometimes actually worse than a newly registered domain. Second question, are keywords in a domain name helpful? Domains are the address of your website that a human being can easily type in. So, for example, www.examplelawfirm.com is a domain. When selecting a domain for your law firm, keep a couple things in mind. First, that domain should be memorable, so people should be able to type it into their web browser without thinking too hard. Words should have common spellings. Google used to give higher priority in search results to exact match domains, which were domains that contained the words that the searcher typed. But today, while Google doesn't give priority to exact match domains that don't also have high quality content or that use bad SEO techniques, having a good domain name can still provide a benefit. It's probably not worth paying a lot of money for an exact match domain unless you have the time or the budget to develop it with a lot of high quality content. Now, some attorneys register domains with keywords separated by hyphens, and the idea is that these domains are easier to read, and they're also more readily available to register than domains that don't have hyphens. However, authoritative sources have argued that these types of domains are indicative of spammy behavior, and they recommend using no more than one hyphen in a domain name. Like everything else with search engines, the intent of the website owner is really important. So if the intent of the domain name is clearly an attempt just to gain favor with the search engines, then it's probably best to go back to the drawing board. However, if there's a compelling argument that could be made that the domain name is part of the firm's core essence or branding, then the presence of the keywords may ultimately help with ranking. And that last question, will a penalty follow me to a new domain? So a common scenario that we see from law firms is that they engaged a SEO person who got their site in trouble using some of the foolish SEO practices that have been outlined in this webinar and in the first part of this series. And this resulted in their website getting demoted or penalized, and it doesn't seem to be able to recover. And if you're in this situation, we have a couple recommended resources for this. One is a blog post that's called The Sunk Cost Fallacy in the Once Great Law Firm Website. Additionally, we also have an on-demand webinar called Can My Underperforming Law Firm Website Be Saved? And both of these are really helpful in understanding what to do if you're in a situation like this. Sometimes the only way to save an attorney's web presence is to start over with a fresh domain name. And for helping you choose a domain, we have a webinar called Choosing a Domain Name for Your Law Firm's Website that's really helpful as well. And when you use a new domain, the logical next question is whether you should forward your old website. If you do forward the website using a 301 redirect, which tells Google that the site has moved somewhere else, all of the negative history from your previous domain is also likely to transfer. And that puts your firm in no better a situation than what you started in. So for that reason, to avoid a penalty following you, we recommend that a prior bad domain not be forwarded. Your host server. Does the IP address or location of the host server affect your firm's chances of ranking well? So there are some, quote unquote bargain hosts that host hundreds or even thousands of websites on a single server with a single IP address. And these servers can be really attractive to spammers and scammers because the hosting is cheap and it requires little or no commitment. When lots of bad behavior comes from a known IP address, it's possible for that IP address to become tainted or untrusted. On top of that, cheap shared hosting opens up the possibility that a bad actor could gain access to the code or the database of your website and add malicious code or spam links. So for that reason, shared bargain hosting can expose you to a lot of potential downsides when it comes to SEO. The search engines possess the technology, the intelligence, and the motive to regulate their results. And if a high percentage of websites from a host or an IP address contain things that are damaging to the search engine's business, so that could be spyware, malware, spam, scams, etc., it's possible for them to distrust an entire IP address, an IP range, or a host. How does keyword density affect SEO? In the 1990s and the first decade of this century, keyword density was a significant topic among SEOs. And the theory was that there was a quote-unquote right ratio of desired keywords to other words on the page. When achieved, this formula was supposed to result in a better chance of ranking for that particular keyword. And to the credit of some SEOs, this actually worked in the decades in the past, but the search engines have really matured over the last 10 years, and they now place a greatly diminished importance on specific keywords. Instead, there's more emphasis on the context and the intended meaning of the words on the page. If you are simply adding keywords or phrases for the search engines, it's not going to sound natural and you're less likely to rank well. On the other hand, pages on a law firm's website can now rank well for keywords that don't even appear once on the page. For example, you might have a well-written article about hiring an attorney, and that can do very well in searches about hiring a lawyer, even though the word lawyer is never used on the page. But the bottom line is that if you're creating well-written and relevant content that answers the intent of a searcher's question, the keywords that you use and the frequency to which they appear on the page is not a needle mover. So avoid hiring somebody to optimize your keyword density and instead focus on creating useful content that's helpful to your potential clients. Top-level domains and your law firm. Does the top-level domain, or TLD, matter for lawyers who want to rank well in search engine results? Just a quick note on definitions here. A top-level domain, or TLD, is what comes after the dot in a web address. So the most common ones that you're likely to recognize are .com, .net, and .org, which have been around forever, at least in terms of internet time. But in 2017, there are a lot of different choices for lawyers, and that includes law-specific TLDs. I've seen ones .law, .attorney, .lawyer, among others. We have seen here at LawLytics, and we have customers with domains with legal-specific suffixes that do rank well on Google. But what we haven't seen is any evidence that these domains confer any advantage over traditional TLDs when it comes to ranking. This is a subject that we discussed in depth, and for more thoughts on lawyers and domain name selection, there's a blog post from August of 2015 on our site called "Should Lawyers Buy .law Domains?" The last frequently asked question in this session is this: how often does my website need to be optimized? Once a page on a law firm website or blog is optimized for the search engine, it rarely needs to be altered or optimized. Now, this is contrary to what most SEO salespeople are going to tell you, and it's logical and it's supported by the facts. Let's consider that for something that is already optimized to become unoptimized, a condition has to change. But before concluding that a page needs additional optimization, ask the following questions. So, has a Google algorithm changed? Has the law changed? Have the facts presented on this page changed? And really, that's it. If none of the above are true, your page doesn't need further optimization, assuming it's optimized correctly in the first place. On the flip side of this, your page may slip in ranking or may not achieve the ranking that you want based on a number of factors that are not related to and wouldn't be solved by ongoing optimization services that are sold by many SEO companies. The factors that are included there are this: your competitor now has better or more content than you do, and their ranking is decreasing yours. Your content is insufficient despite being quote-unquote optimized, and your SEO company deployed any of the tricks or the bad practices that we've described in this webinar and in other webinars. With that, I want to thank you so much for listening. I want to encourage you also to feel free to go check out any of our other free on-demand webinars as well as blog posts. And that includes the first webinar in this two-part series if you haven't seen it yet. With that, I want to thank you so much for listening, and I want to encourage you to feel free to go check out any of our other free on-demand webinars as well as blog posts. And that includes the first webinar in this two-part series if you haven't checked it out yet. All of those resources are available to you for free to help you learn how to better understand how the internet works and how your potential clients are using it to find you. If you have questions about your legal marketing or SEO, or you're ready to take your online marketing to the next level, we are here to help you and we are happy to talk with you. So feel free to contact us through any of the methods that you see here. You can submit a consultation request from our main website at www.lawlytics.com. You can always call us at 800-713-0161, or you can shoot us an email at info@lawlytics.com. Thanks again. Have a great day.